part of it. Like, I'd love to see. I worked at a graphic design company in Prince George for a really long time. Well, I guess not a long time, but I had a lot of experience working with other companies that do design, and we did some Winter Games stuff, and it was really neat to see things on like chloroplast or metal and see the different effects that it could take. So I think that's my gravitational pull to like get my art on everything.
Right.
Yeah, because it just every piece will look different on different items,
Right.
but you don't know until you print it on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what, maybe you can walk us through that process. What does that
Yeah.
look like?
So I'll paint for X amount of time, 24 hours, 3 months, depends. And then I'll like kind of take a look at the pieces. I'll put it on some templates that I have already. Most of them are on clothing, but sometimes like chair coverings or like couch coverings even, right? So you kind of try it on them all and see what fits the best. Because sometimes when you do like a landscape piece, some of them aren't gonna fit on a square box, right? So you take a look, see what feels good, and you kind of crop it and feel it out, and you kind of put it out there and see what people's reactions are.
And where do you put it out there?
So right now, mostly I sell on Rage On. So Rage On's a company in the States, and they do prints on everything. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. On Society 6 and stuff, like not a lot of companies in Canada will print on like overall printing and have like a good, nice quality where you can kind of wear it for a year.
It'll last.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll last. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. They do shoes and all that sort of stuff. So you can instantly
Crazy.
post it, see it on all these items. You're like, okay, pick the items you like, and then resell it. So it's nice as an artist to kind of just instant gratification, right? Yeah.
Instant gratification.
Instant gratification.
And have you seen locally, like people that you don't know? Has that ever come where you've seen your thing, like your item? Because we know like you've sold through these sites. Have you witnessed it in person?
Have I seen like my
do you
shirt
just
drive
know-
by in a car?
Yeah. Do you just know like numbers like that's out there in that city?
No, I don't. I think that's something I'm working on personally. Like I really want to kind of take notice of those things. I
Yeah.
think right now I'm sharing and I'm hoping people like it, and then I kind of like go back to my basement.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotta get out of that basement.
Yeah, that basement. Yeah, it's a pretty good place.
It
I
is a
feel
good place.
successful in that basement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about the environment.
It's all about the environment. Yeah.
Totally. Cool. Did you know that
Just
about
like-
all this? You're soaking
Well,
it in over here.
yesterday was I was going through it, so I saw the shirts.
Oh, mhm.
Jesse made the comment. I was like, that's so cool, because I also saw that you do a lot of like somehow fun artwork. I saw a lot of Star Wars, and like not big fans. I was like, okay, that's really cool. I saw, I think I saw one of the Joker.
Oh, the
did,
Joker.
which is
The
And I
Joker.
see-
I like
Yeah.
how you said this.
Is
Never
this
heard you
some
say
sort
that
of egg
before.
villain?
Is that a satirical piece?
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah.
The Joker.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's good.
Well,
It just
like,
chucks
no
eggs
offense
at-
or
it
anything,
just
but-
chucks eggs
Oh,
at you.
yeah, but he was.
Yolks on you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh wow, well played there. Nice.
Yeah, good
But that's one that I when I was going through, I was like, I jump into that one. Like,
Yeah, like
a lot of those that I was not expecting to see, because at the top of your Instagram you didn't have them,
no.
and then I keep going down and down, and then some more. Like, you have
Yeah.
a lot of
It's
pieces
a
out there.
variety. Yeah, it's definitely variety. Like in Prince George, like there's some great events that came in when I just left. Like I moved from Prince George about 3 years ago, and like Norm, he brought in like FanCon, and FanCon was huge, and like he featured me as like their main artist, and it was like as people walked in, it was like everything you saw was like Amy and like all of her comic book characters, right? And so like that was a huge, powerful moment. Like it's just like a reality check for me. I'm like, okay, well, you know, this is a huge community that's behind their artists, and they want to feature them for all these like amazing people. We got to meet like William Shatner and all these people coming in, and so that was really neat. But then I think as an artist, you take a reflection on like who your demographic is, and like I moved to Kamloops. We're living in Terrace, mind you. Like that's perspective. Like we moved to Terrace, and then we came to Kamloops. So like I got to see like 3 different, very different cultures. And Kamloops, like a lot of people, yeah, they really like the comic book characters, but they'll gravitate towards like their pets or you know, their family members, or like the birds and the nature, which I respect quite a bit. But then you'll see my art change based on where I move.
Great.
That's a lot of fun. But yeah, the most character of myself comes out in the comic book characters, I think. Yeah.
So I'd like to know a little bit more about like the unmentionables. Like,
Oh.
so at what point can you sell something or can't you sell something, or what does that look like? Is
I
it
mean,
only through the mediums of like?
yeah, I think the moment that is copyright at all, like the moment it references like a Disney character or a Star Wars character, anything at all, is an unmentionable. Like you can't sell those types of things. Like copyright as an artist, like to build on that.
Right.
Yeah, it's just not something that'll like push you as an artist to grow professionally.
Right.
It's very
Which is
interesting.
much different.
Yeah,
Which is
I was
different
just
than tattoo
thinking like
artists, yeah.
tattoo artists, we get free reign.
Right?
Like, pretty
And that's
well.
why I'm like, any apprenticeships out there? Like,
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
we spoke at
because-
length about
Yeah.
like
apprenticeships
when I
already.
was in
so-
university, I had like a big course I was talking about like your portfolio and stuff, and had a big thing about appropriation, things like that, and then going into tattooing, it was way different. Like back in the day, it was still appropriation, but you're clipping pictures out of a magazine for references,
Mhm.
pasting them together. But now you got Google Images, you just take them that way, and it's actually, in a way, like it's very helpful to artists, but it's also very detrimental because you'll go through like Instagram,
Yeah.
you'll see like search like we were just talking about at the shop. We need more bear photographers because you've seen the
Right.
same like bear tattoo
Right.
done by different artists, maybe in different ways,
Mhm.
like 1,000 billion times. They're all
Mm.
using that one really awesome picture. So if you want to really find like a great reference, you have to go into like the deep web
Yeah.
where nobody ever goes, like page
Yeah.
2 of your Google search. Like nobody ever goes there. But yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like, I don't mean to keep name dropping. I apologize, but to put it in perspective,
Yeah,
like
please tone it down a
my
little.
yeah, you're like, cut it out. But like in PG, like there's you know, Steve, like he's been coaching me on how to be a tattoo artist, right? Like, and that's something that I've always wanted to pursue is like being an apprentice. But it's that whole like reality check between like painting all the time and selling as a painter, and then making that switch as like a tattoo artist,
Yeah.
like what that means
Yeah.
to you, right?
And also too, like you're talking about like your audience and stuff, and knowing like
Mhm.
starting as a apprentice, you don't really get to pick and choose.
Yeah.
You kind of have to learn the craft before you can start twisting the craft to suit your needs.
Mhm.
But then like you start developing your style, and depending what route you go may affect how much work you get, because you start developing so much of a certain way, it might be only like a handful of people who actually like it
Right.
when it's the thing you really love to do.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
restarting as an artist almost, like in a
Mhm.
sense that you're relearning how to use that.
Yeah.
Like he was like, you need those grippers to like practice, and I was like, what? I was like, I'm fine. Like I got arm strength. He's like, no, you need to
Yeah.
be like gripping.
Yeah.
Like you need to know what it feels like to hold a gun, right?
Yeah, well, like one thing I would suggest when I started my apprenticeship is like one of those big like D batteries, put it on the end of a pencil, and just kind of holding it, kind of feel the weight a bit.
Yeah, that's good.
But like, just things change so much, especially with tattooing lately. Like they got machines that are shaped like pens, and now they got ones that are battery operated, shaped like pens. You don't have that
Battery operated, crazy.
Yeah. So like, it's just changing so much. Like
Yeah.
a few years time, you're not gonna have that big heavy weight on
Right.
the backside. It's gonna be quite different. But yeah.
That's
Hmm.
cool.
And you get to tattoo like at free range
Yeah, I did
comic artists.
I
and, like,
I did a Star Wars tattoo like the other day. Darth Vader, Millennium Falcon, Death Star, whatever. I have this one client. He's full of comic book characters, and we're doing more. I did like a mashup. It was like the Hulk with the Infinity Gauntlet holding like something else from Doctor Strange. I get to grab whatever picture I want as my reference if I feel I can't do it myself, or I just don't want to,
Yeah.
or if they got a picture in mind that they really, really want.
Mhm.
No one's gonna be like, "Hey, I want some money for
I
that."
wonder though too. Like I wonder if it's point of like a point of sale. I guess in a sense where, like, because I'm painting something. Say if I do a custom, like my Vader ones were a custom for a really close friend, but he let me reproduce them, and they were very successful because they were Darth Vader and the troops, right? And he always did the bunny ears, and that's all he wanted in his pieces. So we wanted to do a collection of bunny ears. but I wonder if it's at reproduction value, because like if I were to just do a custom and give them that guy, like it's
Yeah.
not like someone would be like, oh no, you can't do that custom because it's a one-off piece.
Yeah.
But I
see.
wonder if it's like if you take a picture of someone's like tattoo and
Yeah.
you start trying to resell that.
Yeah, well, we generally try not to do, even with our own, we don't like to do the same piece twice,
Yeah.
which can, like, it can be difficult as an artist, but it definitely pushes you to go beyond to try and not repeat yourself.
Yeah.
And also, you're not wanting to repeat other artists. Like, if you want that piece, go see the artist.
Right.
Don't, like, try and get a cheap version of
Right.
whatever.
Like a
you know,
knockoff.
a knockoff, exactly.
Yeah. I'm trying to talk Zach into doing a whole bunch of knockoffs for me. Like,
Come on, man.
I really like this,
Yeah.
man.
But
Could you just do that for me?
but it's
It's like,
also
well, that's
interesting
pretty
too, like-
illegal. I don't know if
Yeah.
I can do that. It's a
But
one-off.
also,
man.
like, when you're apprenticing and starting, you don't get to be so choosy. If
Right.
someone wants something,
Yeah.
you do it for them. Maybe
Right.
just don't put it in your portfolio.
Right.
Like, you get a lot of times on Instagram, like some of like the big awesome tattoo artists, I find they'll like share a reproduction that someone else did worse.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
like, don't like
You don't want to be on that
don't wanna
list.
be on-
right?
Yeah, you don't
don't
want
wanna
to
be
be
on-
on
well,
that list yet.
don't share it. Like, it's kind of like a insult to the original artist. You know, you didn't create the image, you didn't like
Yeah.
piece together any of it, you didn't do the layout, you
Yeah.
basically copy pasted best you could. But then,
Yeah.
same time, tattoo artists just fucking stealing pictures off the internet.
Exactly.
Let's just
We're just a
recreate
big
that.
contradiction. We're garbage.
true.
We're garbage people. Whatever.
But you won't do another tattoos art, but then you'll immediately
that's
do a
why
photographer's
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah, like as a
But
graphic designer.
yeah,
too,
but
with
also
that.
another
Yeah.
thing too, like you take a photographer's piece, people they want portraits, they want realistic, and funny people come in, they're like, "Hey, can you draw this picture of my grandma or of my dog and tattoo it?" And it's like, why would I draw it when there's the picture? There's not
Right.
nothing gonna be more realistic for me to work from than from
Yeah.
Then
the
the
photo.
picture. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of like another thing too.
right.
Very-
Hmm.
I don't know how I feel about myself anymore.
Really
I
making
know,
you
you're
look
questioning
this is
everything.
taking a
Yeah.
weird turn.
Well, I only say that because Zach, he works off a reference, and he's
Yeah.
like a reference artist.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I ask. I've been trying to ask him to do reproductions because I know he would be pretty close to the
Yeah.
the
nail it.
original. Like it was as close as I can afford, but not $20 million. You know.
There's this thing on CBC once. They're talking to this dude. For many, many years, he was doing reproductions of old masters paintings, and nobody knew. They were selling for like millions all over the place. And then he got caught because he used the wrong kind of white that
Jeez.
they didn't use back at that time.
Right.
And they're asking him if he had any regrets, and he's like, "I wish I didn't use titanium white."
Not many people have that
Some Neil
regret in
Caffrey.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess that's what makes tattooing so cool. We're stealing stuff.
Just steal and
yeah.
throw
We're
it on
thieves. We're
skin.
punks. We're metal.
Yeah, rock and roll.
roll.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
But it's a cool experience. Like I'm not to paint or I'm not to, but when I see it, and all the work, even though like you might be not your character, but I saw like the expression is completely different that you could see anywhere else. Which is like that's what makes the difference between
That's where you
a
hope
piece and-
comes through, right? Like that's where you hope. Like if you paint like Betty White or like my Wonder Woman one, where she's just like so fed up with like justice, she's like whatever, right? So like it's those like expressions that come through that you really hope that people resonate with, and like they're like, oh yeah, that's Amy, right? Like. Not like, oh, that's Wonder Woman, right? So that's sort of what you hope would happen, but again, I think it's like legalities and copyright and stuff.
Well, that's
that
where
always
like
get
too like not even just like the expression as a content, but
Mhm.
the expression as an artist.
yeah, your pencil strokes even,
Yeah,
right?
that kind of defines like each work, even though
Yeah.
you're taking from somewhere else. That still your expression going through, and that's where like the art really comes from. Like doing like a hyper realistic portrait looks exactly like a photo. Like took a lot of technical skill, but you gotta question like the art
Yeah.
of it. You know, like it's definitely art. It definitely took a lot of work, but whereas like the art
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
The art can lie, like you're saying, in the technical element.
Yeah.
And like seeing Zach essentially reproduce photos,
Mhm.
but in
Mhm.
paint,
Yeah.
it's like a totally different way of
Yeah.
appreciating the same thing.
Yeah.
Even though we've been getting mad at him because he uses like, well, the past two were my photos, and I was like, nice, like my photos up there.
Yeah.
But he like didn't like it. We come back in the next day,
He
he's
paints
painted over
over
it,
it.
and we're like,
Yeah.
man, you could have sold that for like $300-$400, like.
We're all our
Easily.
own worst critic, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again and again, but then you see like that's just it. Like he is reproducing something, and it's not mine anymore. It's like
Yeah.
it's his.
Yeah.
It's his
Mhm.
vision.
Yeah,
And I was
well,
like,
it becomes yours, like,
Yeah.
when, like, bands cover songs.
right,
Like, it really annoys me when they don't put their own, like, expression on it.
right,
It's a complete copy-paste, but
right,
when you can tell it's someone else's, like, hands playing it, someone else's expression of the exact same thing, that's when it becomes interesting, you know?
right.
Yeah. And me and my hubby always have this like argument. Or it's like he's like a very realist. Like he's like, oh, if it doesn't look real, if it doesn't look like the exact photo, like it's not art. And I'm like,
Yeah.
nah, right? Like I'm like, no, like you gotta let the artist like really have his chance. Like I have this painting in my basement with like again like I don't think a lot of people would see it in normal light, like because I think it would change the whole demographic of what I'm trying to do. But it's like a horse where she's really having to pee, so she's like holding her crotch, right? But it's like a horse head with a woman's body, and it's like I love it because every time I go to the bathroom, I'm like, yeah, that's how I feel like when I pee, right? Like, like it's like this weird like capture, but to him it's like it's not real, so it's not art. So I think it's everybody's perspective, and it depends on what type of artist you want to be, and if you're trying to make a living or if you're just really trying to express yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just like I was just thinking as soon as I was saying like doing like hyper realistic portraits, like where's like the art in it, even though it is art. I could just like hear way back there my boss sigh, shut up, you're dumb. It is art. Anything that isn't.
Hey, Harrison, what time do you got? Is he looking around? Yeah, you can talk.
8:20.
8:20. Okay, I think we should sign off, but then carry on the conversation for the sake of Facebook Live. So we'll carry this
We'll
on,
continue.
just in a
Yeah.
different medium following this. So thank you for tuning in to Society at 322. We had Julian and Amy.
Thank you guys. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for liking. It's been cool.
Yeah, and we will. We're gonna keep chatting, and we'll post the full cut on YouTube in the new year.
The new year.
Adios. So yeah, let's carry on the vibes here.
Yeah.
Do you have a tattoo?
I do. I have a whole. Well, I have an arm. And
2 arms.
Just, I have one arm. Yeah. I have the one arm and then my wrist tattoos.
Okay.
So
Oh,
I
I've
have-
never seen your wrist tattoo.
Yes, I
That's
have
funky.
my one
Cool.
life,
Mhm.
and so a star.
The
So
star?
as you know, you have one life.
That's-
You have to live it well because you have a limited amount of time. That's why you probably higher when I got this.
There you go.
Yeah, no, my best friend Jesse and I, we played 100 games of Mario Kart. Like, we wanted to
back to
break
back?
that fucking game. Like, we wanted to break it. Yeah. We had to take a break at, like, 86 and go get McDonald's and rum and Bailey's and all that shit. So we came back, and I was like, okay, we gotta keep playing. We gotta get to 100, right? And he was playing Peach, and I was, I had to
man.
play Mario.
I'm a huge fan of Peach. That's
Really?
my jam.
Yoshi's where it's at, man.
Or-
So,
I played Wario.
No,
She's
you-
only horror if you're getting beat by her.
Right,
you
and
know?
I was getting beat by
That's
her.
the problem.
Yeah, like,
This is really
hard.
confusing me. I didn't know there was a choice besides Yoshi.
Yeah, there
are you
is.
people?
But
Yeah.
so when we played, when we
Yoshi's
played
pop
two
culture though.
player-
Everyone
Oh,
like
yeah.
No,
that's like the
People
first
use-
one
no,
to go at
I'm
all
talking
times.
straight up mechanics. Yoshi is the man. in
Well, so
Mario
that's the
Kart.
thing is like when you play two player, one person always has to be Mario, And that's like the shitty part, because I like Toad, right? And he likes Peach, and I was like, bitch, like, so he played Peach, and I played Mario, and I was like, damn it. So, like,
What do you mean you
played-
have to play Mario?
Yeah, so it always like the old
The old
Super
yeah,
Nintendo?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
Super Nintendo.
he had
Super
Wii.
Nintendo,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, he
Gotcha.
had Wii, and he had preloaded like the old Nintendo on there, and so I
Gotcha.
had to default as Mario, right?
Right.
And he was Peach, so I was like, just
You're a woman.
handed it to him.
That's nice. Though.
Yeah, At 8,
So would Peach be your jam or
no, Toad. Toad all the way.
Toad?
Yeah,
Well, there
I
you
like
go.
Toad. Yeah.
I don't know
You
why-
learn a
He's
lot
like
on
the
this
little
show.
tiny
I
short
just-
underdog. Yeah.
Totally a
Yeah.
Toad guy.
Totally Toad. Yeah.
Who are you?
And Wario.
Wario.
Just because of the mustache.
But every single,
Yeah.
every time, I don't know why I always liked Wario on Nintendo 64, and that was
No.
But I like to.
Well, yeah. I don't like hearing that at all.
Whenever he passes,
You know
make
it's a
that
problem.
bloody sound.
And it's just like he slides better than anyone else, so I
Yeah.
use that all the time.
Which is true. Like certain characters slide differently or fly farther. or
Bowser
whatever,
hits
right?
hard. He's
Or
a
at the
bastard.
beginning,
Yeah.
same thing with Wario. At the beginning, if you hit it, like
Yeah.
you have someone in front.
Yeah, he's a
you just,
boss. He
Yeah.
bangs her.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
Uh,
it's always been that.
yeah, it's always been that. I haven't played the new games though, like any
No.
of them.
We keep them old school out here too. Well, you can see Mario Kart
Yeah.
64 there.
That's awesome. So the next live feed is us playing games.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we,
Yeah,
could, we should
totally.
open a Twitch and
Yeah.
like a Twitch account.
We gotta beat the
just
100
go-
Yeah, go-
games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
safe. I'm
Yeah.
into that.
Yeah.
I'm into a good marathon,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to Mario Kart for sure.
Mario-thon.
Marathon.
You can tell I'm the father of this group. I have a theory that, like, as soon as a man sees his first, like, child, there's, like, a gland or something in the body that just releases puns and bad
Oh,
jokes,
nice.
like, into the body. He just can't help it.
I'm like, oh,
I'm
really?
here.
Like, totally biologically? Yeah. No,
Yeah.
no. It's like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
He's just joking.
Well, there you go.
There's some science for you, buddy.
Yeah, Harrison, what
I
more do you
wanna
want
thank
here, bud? T-Bone might be at the front door sooner than later, so just keep an eye on my messages.
Yeah, he just texted me on my way. Would the door
Okay.
be open?
Do you guys have any favorite artists in town?
In town, Zach, he's awesome.
Zach?
I love Zach. I
I
love
was
his
like,
paintings. Like, he is
hello. Yeah. Yeah.
He's just such a bastard.
He's a bastard. We tell him all the time,
Yeah.
especially because he's been talking about bringing this espresso machine
Oh,
into
yeah,
the
man.
studio.
All talk, no
Just
action.
teasing you. Yeah.
Nothing. That started like last January, and still.
Yeah, when he says espresso machine, he means like this little like tube that says espresso on it. He's like, "This is the espresso machine." And he keeps like using it.
But not even,
And he
like,
keeps painting.
he has left the table we're having lunch. I'll be like, yeah.
He's left
Like,
twice now.
He's left twice now. After
Lunch
the
out.
conversa-
He's like,
lunch
I'm
out.
going home to grab the espresso machine, and then we don't see him for a week. And we're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Disappears. Yeah.
But yeah, he's a frustrating guy to have in the studio because he is like so proficient, and then he starts painting over
He
things.
starts
and you're
painting
like,
over.
no,
Like that's
man."
what I told him. Like he's painted over these canvas for, I think it's his fifth
Yeah, 5th or 6th.
or sixth.
Yeah.
Painting over that one, and I was like, I'm gonna bring a bunch of those.
Yeah.
To buy another $800 worth of canvas. Just gonna be like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
I
it's
see him about
frustrating,
to
like-
go, it's like I'm gonna take them tonight.
Yeah.
Like,
It
I'll
can be
show up with
frustrating
them.
seeing a person's process like that's his process and
Yeah.
why it's so good, but just like people's processes are so different. Like I know, for example, like when I use Photoshop, I wasn't really taught too much how to use it. I know my way around. And then my wife, who was taught Photoshop, she like did web design and stuff. She just grits her teeth and just like wants to choke me out watching me use
Watching you
Photoshop.
do it, yeah.
I'm like, I know the way I do it. She's like, use a layer mask. I don't know what that is. Leave me alone. I can get the same result.
So I think I would be frustrated myself if I knew Photoshop better, for sure. Every time I get into Photoshop, I wish I knew more about Photoshop.
Yeah, I've become the unofficial Photoshop master at the shop.
Nice.
Even though
So
I'm
everything
not-
falls on you.
Yeah, it's all my fault if things go bad, and thanks Julian if things go good.
Well, updates so quickly. Like, you know, even working the job I am, like doing marketing and stuff, like, you could hope that you have an Adobe account, but like in a year, it's like everything's updated. But it's updated to the extreme. Like it's
It
not
is
just going
extreme
from
jumps
yeah,
for sure.
right. So I think that's like kudos to you for just
Yeah.
sticking with it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just
Yeah.
it's all like self-taught. Like when I was little, like using like Paint or things like that.
Yeah.
Even just computer in general, I just like click on the things, see what they do. Okay, that does that. Like go on the next thing, see what that does. Oh, that does that. Just kind of like remember.
But now there's too many buttons to explore. Like sometimes when I look at a highlight video of like what's new, even with our video editing, you're like, it does that now.
Yeah.
Like that is a whole nother world we now have to learn if we want to get close to that. You know.
It happens at the shop sometimes too. Like I'll do a very simple task, but people who don't know it, they're like, "Whoa!" Or even people who aren't working there, don't use Photoshop, or just clients watching us use the eraser tool. They're like, "You can do that." Or,
You're
can
just like
do
showing
that."
off, like
Yeah,
erasing.
Yeah,
Nice.
see me erase all this stuff. Show me more, Julian. Oh my God.
Look at all these layers.
It's
and
like
they're
Aladdin.
Yeah.
A whole new world.
How about you, Amy? What do you use?
I use honestly the whole Adobe suite with work, so it's nice because I get to stay in it. But my old computer has like Photoshop like 4 or 5.
I
Like,
don't even use Photoshop at home. I use
Sad
GIMP,
Panda.
if you know GIMP.
No, I don't know.
It,
Gimp.
it does all the stuff Photoshop does, but it's
which is
but
why
it's
it's
user-
called GIMP. Yeah.
yeah, but its user interface
Just
is
GIMPs
totally
along,
gimped.
yeah.
Like
Yeah. There's
it's
so
not
many free
user-friendly.
programs.
Yeah.
Like it makes it hard to like as an artist like to compete with a lot of the things that are coming out because everybody's an artist at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so you have to step it up and be that original, so that little horse peeing in my basement might one day become like
Yeah.
the art because
Right.
everyone has an opinion on what it should look like, but
Yeah.
it's easier for them to create it, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then they never create it.
I want to give them. I want to
Yeah.
take away their
That's
phone. Give them
artists
a
for
rodeo.
ya.
Yeah, one of those like not like you know those big ass cell phones. Like I remember having them as a kid. My dad's like, you gotta take this. You gotta take it out, right? Like gotta be safe. And it was like one of those giant flip phones with like the antenna. Like I still remember that as a kid. And I'm like, today, like 40 years from now, I'm gonna be laughing at myself watching this because
Talking
I
about
was
this.
that person. Yeah.
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 But then when you use watercolors, how do you then translate that to product?
That's a great question. Like, so if I'm really like trying to make a whole collection, I'll paint small because I have a small scanner at home. So I'll do like a small watercolor, scan it and then upload it, and then it's good. So it doesn't take long. It takes like a couple days to get like a whole collection out,
Right.
which is nice. That's why it's like super reliable. With watercolor, I think it just goes so quickly because I do like the first layer watercolor and then I do like the second layer like ink or acrylic. So it's a
Right.
lot of like the push and pull. Like people don't really they take for granted, I guess, and they get really scared about watercolor. I'm like, no, like mess it up as much as you want because just put whatever you want on top of it to really bring it out.
Right.
So usually I use like black and white acrylic on top of my watercolor and it just brings all those highlights out. So you don't have to plan your white space out. Or like the Kamloops Art Party, they did like this huge, like really cool technique where they use like plasticine or something, like the stuff you use for like Halloween makeup. Like you actually put it on to like make ears.
Latex?
Latex, thank you. Yeah, and they put it on like their page, and they put like their watercolor on, and they peeled the latex off, and I'm like, oh. Like for 10 years now, I'm like I've been doing it the hard way, like the entire
in
time.
high school, I did some
Yeah.
like batiking. It's like silk screen and stuff.
Yeah.
And what you use is beeswax. Put beeswax over the spot you don't want the dye to go into. You dip the whole thing in, then you change where you want the beeswax, and you can change your colors.
That's like
that
using
way.
crayon, I guess,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
the
pretty
crayon
well.
technique. That's a good. That's one of those things where you need to be around other artists. Don't
Mhm.
live in your basement,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just get out. Yeah.
Kamloops Art Party.
Oh, yeah. yeah.
That's the one thing I do miss about going to school at Emily Carr is like so many artists. Like it's not just a university; it's a university for artists.
Yeah.
All different mediums. They're all there for the same thing. It's so
Yeah.
many resources.
That's what I've been pumped about the creation of this studio is that you're surrounded
Yeah.
by like proper mixed medium in every
Mhm.
form. Even when it comes to food, like he's making like art in tacos and
It's awesome.
mezcal and tequila cocktails beside like paint, acrylic, and every other dirty thing you can probably have in a studio. And then just knock on Zach. It's so messy, but
Booze.
it's understood. He walks away. The other day, he was spraying this. He used, I think it was like charcoal to like lay the base foundation, and then he sprayed this thing. He's like, "Oh, this stuff's great. Like it just like sets it, and then you can paint over top of it."
Yeah.
We're like, "Great," and he just floods the thing, and we're all looking over like he's praying like that stuff looks like it stinks. And he's like, "Well, see you later, guys." He just
I'm going to get
leaves.
the espresso machine. Yeah.
Exactly. And then like 15 minutes later, like Harrison's like, I'm not feeling too good. We're all like, no, I'm high
It's
for
wrong.
sure. in here." But it was a cool like just being surrounded by that, because it makes you think differently immediately about how you approach your own craft in some shape or form, or how you could envision your own craft.
Even for idea, like what it me that I said I'd been painter to do that kind of art. It's just like being here, and then I come in and they're doing videos. They're like Zach is doing like painting and Stacy's editing, and I was like, oh shit! It just gets you thinking to creating more stuff and new things. But it's just like it's a different process being around artists and see all that.
Just like a traditional craft has got me like changed like how I approached like when I was recording my own music. Like a lot of times they're like, okay, it's this take, I have all my ideas, and now I'm gonna start recording. Whereas you could record sketches, just like a sketch out a song, you know, just kind of loosely put it together with this instrument, do a next sketch of the next instrument, and then you piece it all together, you know, tighten up your sketch until you kind of finally got your product, you know,
Right?
kind of just different switches.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's important that you do, like we're saying, go to different artistic mediums or shows or battles or any of that to just like be re-inspired, even if it has nothing to do with what you're about. Just like how you can approach life is pretty incredible.
And that's another great thing about like tattooing is I don't have to produce the art all the time. Sometimes people bring in the art for me, and it's not necessarily finished, but they're bringing the ideas. Like, oh, I could totally draw that and make it look awesome. Never thought of that. And it's not even necessarily artists either. It's just people who want art, and they're just giving you the fuel you need to actually produce to create. You know?
Right. Yeah, that's cool. And I never thought of that, because like it's like Louise taking you an idea, like he wants something, and then you have the means to create
or
that.
even like one day I was sitting at the shop and I had nothing to do, and I was just kind of like, I don't know what to draw. I got no appointments. I don't know what to draw. What am I going to do? And then someone just randomly messaged me talking about a tattoo idea that they wanted. And I totally sketched it up, and it was awesome.
So how about you? Roadblocks? Do you ever get in a situation where you're like,
like even like wanting to work in here, like that's a roadblock. Like everything's, I think, a roadblock if you choose it to be, right? So I think it's everyone has their different triggers, but their wants and their dreams. But I'm a very over-calculated person. Like I have to think about it for months before I'm like, okay. But it's also like, what's your risk and what's your reward? Like when we first bought a house, I'm like, oh shit, like life got real. Like now I have all these things to worry about, right? So it takes like that extra bit of time to be like, okay, I can jump. Or like I have the support behind me, but do I? Like, you know, like, and then you kind of try to take that step forward, and you just have these great people around you that are constantly encouraging you to be like, no, like you like believe in yourself, right? But it's that trust in yourself that you really have to.
That's kind of like how it was with tattooing for me. I never really considered it, and I looked at my art. I'm like, that's not tattoo art. But his wife was like, go for that apprenticeship. I'm like, go give it a go, you know?
That's
It's
a
a
hard
solid
part
push.
too. Yeah, like my friend Steve was like constantly encouraging me. Like he works virtually with me to work on my tattoo designs, but it's like, when am I gonna make that jump? Or like, should I? Or you know, is my art good enough? Or you know, what type of art should I do? Would people actually want my art on a tattoo? Right? Like, so that's that whole stop overthinking and just do it kind of thing. But have great people to just be like, just like shut up and do it. Right?
especially when it comes to watercolors, I think that stuff's pretty hip now. Like that's starting to take a more mainstream like correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm seeing more and more of those pop up
Yeah.
in that
Watercolor
field.
tattoos for sure. Definitely, I'd say
Mhm.
last 5 or so years, they've definitely gained popularity. And just like more abstract tattoos in general, like
Mhm.
tattooing was the same for so many years, like the old Sailor Jerry kind of stuff,
Mhm.
very
Mhm.
traditional, crisp lines. And then people just started not doing that, like
Yeah.
painterly stuff. And it takes its own like craft, but it's very free. It's like, again, like I was saying about portraits, like being like art. That's tattooing become more artistic. It's
Right.
more expressive, more free. And I can hear Sai again being like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Shut up, man. We're
We
trying
need
to
to
have a
open a
conversation
apprenticeship for
over here.
Amy. Yeah. Yeah. She's watercolor. Yeah.
Like I think Megan, her tattoos are watercolor based. I think
Mhm.
that they're insane.
Which is weird. Like
She's-
to see it on skin too is like without lines.
Mhm.
Is like beautiful. I mean, she's beautiful, so it also helps on that
Yeah.
element when you're like,
Sells it.
that's nice. Yeah, I
So
like
probably
that.
what makes it
Yes.
popular. Yeah.
But it is also like a beautiful art in its own
Mhm.
right, and it's very just colorful. And I think tattoo. I'm a black and white kind of guy,
Mhm.
but a lot of people aren't. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people want
Well,
that
y-
expression
Yeah.
on them.
You never know, too. Like, I always never envisioned color on me, but now this whole arm can be color. That's
gonna be
my
color?
arm, yeah.
Shit.
Green man, green arm.
Do you find
Is that what's
though,
gonna
like,
happen?
Yeah.
like watercolor is like technically very difficult for you as a tattoo artist?
It's kind of about just like learning like little tricks to it, because it's kind of hard to reproduce exactly a watercolor because it is so free.
Mhm.
But like for example, like when to put a hard edge, because watercolor it does have hard edges in
Mhm.
a lot of spots.
Usually very random.
Yeah, even very random, and like knowing where your layer is gonna be. Like it
Mhm.
might be the same color, but it's layered over top, so it's got that one little darker spot
Yeah.
here and
Mm.
there. And I actually did that with one of my drawings. I think it was one I sent. It was like the Ram Lady had some sort of watercolory stuff in the black, but it was just like a gray wash, but it was all pencil, so it was kind of reproducing the way like tattoo. It's all very soft, and then draw that hard edge so it
Mhm.
looks like watercolor and layer it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a different way to think, because tattoos usually, like when you're doing the line work, it's very line, very crisp. Make sure you follow that exactly, or you fucked up the tattoo.
Right.
But with the watercolor, it's a little bit more forgiving. Oops, I did a splash over there. That's
I
okay,
meant to
you
do
know?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's half a tattooing. Oh yeah, I meant to do that.
Art. Art. This is nice
Number
art.
one rule to tattooing: be very persuasive.
Yeah. Be confident in what you're saying too.
Yeah,
Like
believe what you say,
nailed
Yeah.
it.
even if you know it's a lie.
That's the sacred motto right there. Yes, you got to work.
Sure, it was nice to meet you. Yeah.
See you, buddy.
I think that's a good way. That's a strong way to wrap it up. If you want to wrap it up, yeah, we can like do a formal. Well, thank you both, Julian and
Thank you.
Amy,
Thank
for being on
Yeah,
the
thank
show.
you for coming to the show. It was a good experience. We've been wanting to do these ones for
Yeah, the
so
art one,
long.
and it's cool actually.
It was
Like seeing the having you guys articulate art.
Mhm.
yeah.
I think that's always super unique to the each and every kind of artist. So
Yeah,
we
totally.
appreciate both
Go
you
out
guys
for
being
dates, Yeah.
both. Well, we're gonna revisit this one for sure. Like
yeah.
artists are, I think they're incredible for the community, and we need to support them more. So this is gonna be we're gonna have you
Yeah.
back on for sure.
That's awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming, guys.
Rock and roll. One more, yeah. Adios
Yeah.
from all of us.
Yeah.
Later.
Adios.